Hello, everyone. I can see people joining. We're just going to wait a minute or so for everyone to get into the room, and then we'll begin our presentation.
Ellie, you're hilarious.
All right. Well, welcome to our virtual open house 2022. My name is Nadia. I am a recruiter at the University of Winnipeg, and I will be here to monitor the questions as they come in for the Faculty of Education presentation that we have today. We have a lot of information and a lot of people here to speak with you, and you can put in all of your questions into the Q&A. And I'll be monitoring it. There'll be lots of time for the questions to be addressed throughout the presentation, as well as lots of time at the end of the presentation for us to go over any areas or doubts that you may have. So please feel free to engage and ask lots of questions. And I just also wanted to mention that this is a presentation for domestic students. So if there are any international students who may want to join some of our other presentations that are ongoing, you can see them on the Open House webpage. Thank you. On to you, Megan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 2022 University of Winnipeg Open House, and more specifically, welcome to the Faculty of Education. My name is Dr. Lori-Ann Helston, and I am the Dean of Education. As part of my welcome, I would like to recognize the First Peoples on whose traditional ancestral territories we are currently living and working. Although we are not able to gather together today on the campus of the University of Winnipeg, we acknowledge that the University of Winnipeg is located on Treaty 1 territory and the homeland of the Métis people. I would also like to acknowledge that our water is sourced from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation. Here are some of the highlights of the information we will share with you this afternoon. Fortunately, I won't be doing all of the talking. I'm going to get things started with an overview of our programs before turning it over to other speakers. We should have some time, as Nadia said, for questions at the end of our presentation. Next slide, Megan. So who are we really as a Faculty of Education? So as a Faculty of Education, we prepare students for professional teaching careers in Manitoba classrooms and for provincial certification. We blend theoretical knowledge with classroom practice. We focus on urban inner city education and work from a social justice and decolonial perspective. We are not as small as some might think. The Faculty of Education consists of 30+ faculty members plus many contract academic staff. We have 1,200 B.Ed students overall, split between our integrated and after degree programs. And sometimes we get this question, well, can I really get a job as a teacher when I graduate? And the short answer is yes. How do we know? Well, we survey our graduates annually. And what we can share with you is that 90% of the graduates from the class of 2019 who responded to our survey are currently employed as teachers. And that means they're teaching either on a full-time basis, part-time, term, or substitute. Next slide, please, Megan. So let me tell you a little bit more about our programs. So high school students can apply directly out of high school into our integrated Bachelor of Education program. Students can also transfer into education after their first year of university. In contrast, our after degree program, just like it sounds, students here would complete their BA or Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Arts and then apply to the after degree education program. Now, I will put a little hint or a note in here. The after degree program is a much smaller program and it's more competitive. So if you're at all interested in you're coming out of high school, you're thinking you want to be a teacher, or you're considering education as a career, we really recommend that you apply to our integrated program. We also have a few other programs. So we have a post-baccalaureate program. That's for employed teachers, a number of different areas here: school counseling, inclusive education, Indigenous knowledge. We also offer a Bachelor of Arts in Developmental Studies, more on this one to come. And we also offer a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. Next slide, Megan. We also offer 3 other alternative routes to teacher education. Through our Access Education programs, we strive to provide academic opportunities in partnership with Indigenous, Black, and racially minoritized people, people with inner city experiences, as well as single parents, mature students, and newcomers. Next slide. So let me tell you a little bit more about our integrated program. So the integrated program is 5 years long, and it makes it possible for students to work towards 2 degrees concurrently. The University of Winnipeg is one of just a few post-secondary institutions in the province of Manitoba who offer this program. It's our flagship program, and as such, we admit most of our education students into this program. 5 years, years 1 to 3 focus on your undergraduate degree, like your Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, or Bachelor of Physical Health Education, with some education courses each year. Year 4 and 5 are called certification years, and all of your courses during your certification years take place within the Faculty of Education, and most of these courses will be tied to your practicum placements. Next slide. So this is a lot of text, and we don't need to focus on all the details, but I want to highlight this slide because it's all about our practicum. The school practicum is a very important part of our teacher education programs. They provide the opportunity for you to place academic work, the theoretical work that you're doing, in the context of a practical school setting. One benefit of our integrated program is the ability to participate in community or school practicums in each year of the program. So in year 1, you would do a practicum in a community setting linked to a course. In year 2, in years 2 to 5, each of those years are the practica are in the K-12 setting. In year 2, you do 10 days of practicum in 1 day a week for 1 term. In year 3, you do 20 days of practicum, 1 day a week for both terms. And in years 4 and 5, in each of those years, you do approximately 60 days of practicum, 1 day per week in both terms, and then 4 to 5 weeks of extended practicum at the end of the term. Next slide, please. But the practicums don't always have to just happen in Manitoba. So we do have some exciting international practicum opportunities. These are for students in the 4th or 5th year of the integrated program, or in your 2nd year of an after degree program. Now, these are pretty popular, so not just anyone can take advantage of these opportunities. You need to apply. Now, the pictures on your left, I think it's your left, are from Germany, international practicum to Germany, and the pictures on the right are from Thailand. So let me give you just a quick overview of Thailand. Thailand is an interesting practicum because it's an 8-month practicum. It takes place in the Ielts school in Bangkok, Thailand. This program's open to year 5 elementary stream students, and you complete your final year of your teacher education program in Bangkok. The school in Bangkok where you'll be working, Ielts school, offers English and Thai bilingual programming, and you'd share your classroom with Thai teachers, and you'd be teaching language arts, math, and science in the English portion of the bilingual program. So although the pandemic put a big halt, a big stop on these international practica, we're hoping to have them up and running again as early as spring of 2023. So that's a little bit about the Faculty of Education. I thank you for your attention, and I will turn it over to our Associate Dean, Dr. Leslie Edley Trudell.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really happy that you're here with us today. As Dr. Helston mentioned, I am the Associate Dean here in the Faculty of Education at the University of Winnipeg. And as she also stated, practicum is a very important part of our program in the faculty. Having said that, prior to coming to the university, I worked in the K-12 system for approximately 30 years, starting out as a classroom teacher. And I also worked as a resource teacher, a behavior consultant for students with social emotional learning needs. And at the end of my career in K-12 education, I worked as a principal and an assistant superintendent of schools. The importance of what I'm sharing with you this afternoon is that it relates to the fact that when you choose a career in education, you are opening up a realm of possibilities in the field. So if you choose to begin as a classroom teacher, you don't have to stay there. There are other opportunities within the field where you can ladder or change your career plan. Which leads me to the next slide. Education is a career which will allow you to engage in provincial education priorities. And those priorities are things like student achievement in academics, and also areas such as equity, diversity and inclusion, as well as citizenship and sustainability. And a new one that has come to the table, especially over the pandemic, is well-being. And that's incredibly important. Teacher well-being is incredibly important as it affects student well-being, and that affects student achievement, how they do when they're working in school. And when teaching in Manitoba and other locations as well, outside of Manitoba, it's particularly important that the focus for teachers is on students first and then on subject areas. So although you may take courses in various subject areas, we really want you to focus on the student within that subject area first. And of course, along with that, there are challenges that we encounter, challenges such as child poverty. That's one you'll hear a lot about in Manitoba, complex trauma, low graduation rates for diverse learners, and there's other issues that teachers need to be aware of in the future and need to address as a critical foundation of student learning. And this is no easy task. From that perspective, I would like to share a quote from a Canadian education activist and education director at a place called the People for Education, and her name is Annie Kidder. And she says that when she's asked about the work that she does in education activism, people ask her, what is your burning platform? What makes your work necessary or urgent? And she says that it feels as if the world itself is burning, literally and figuratively. She says that we have an increasingly angry form of populism in the world that's dividing us and threatening our democracies. We have millions of people displaced by war, terrorism, oppression, and deprivation. We have climate change as a global threat, and we seem unwilling to buckle down and do something about that. She says young people are increasingly likely to struggle with mental illness and report high levels of anxiety about the future. And there are growing gaps between rural and urban communities, between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people, and between the privileged and those who are left out. And most worrying of all, she says that we are living in a post-truth era where facts, science, and even honesty are not things we can count on. At this point, she says we have two choices. We can hide and hope that this all goes away, or we can look for places where we can make a real difference. And despite the mess that we're in, she says that there is hope, and that hope, it lies in public education. And I would agree with Annie Kidder. So on the next slide, I would conclude by saying that despite the challenges that I mentioned, education is a career that offers you much hope and much possibility for the future. And if you are an individual who cares about making a difference in the world, wants to make the world a better place, the classroom empowers you to share your knowledge, your skills, each and every day with many, many students. I wish you the best today in your exploration and deliberations as you do the important work in discerning your future career path, and continue to learn about all of the opportunities in the Faculty of Education in this presentation. And our next presenter is Dr. Sherry Lynn Skorchuk to talk to you a bit about developmental studies.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the education presentation. I'm a faculty member in education, and I just want to say that another benefit of coming here and being part of our program is that we have a lot of faculty that are very close to the student population, and we look forward to working together with you. We've all been through a tough time with COVID, but hopefully that's going to change around very soon. So you may have also heard recently in the news that there is a push towards early childhood education. And so this is a program that we also offer in this faculty because we feel that children need an important bridge to learning, and that bridge starts even before children start school. And so if you're interested in working with children that are younger than school age or moving into the school age, the Developmental Studies program may be for you. Next slide. So what can you do with this program? Basically, it's a 3-year program, and you end up getting a Bachelor of Arts degree. You can also do 2 years at the University of Winnipeg, and we have a joint program with Red River College Polytechnique where you can take 2 years of their programming, and what you end up getting is 2 certifications in early childhood education, which leads you to have the top level of certification in our province to work with very young children. This program also allows you to receive a Bachelor of Arts degree and also the Red River credentialing. So in this type of program, what you're doing is you're studying how development affects children, families, and learning. And this area of development, I would suggest, is growing. And again, as we're seeing changes to the early childhood sector and early childcare, we're going to probably be seeing a lot of employment in this area in the future. So you want to be part of this because you can be on the ground floor with how this career development improves over time and how we make changes in our province to making sure children have the best start to life. So there are optional joint and professional programs as well, so that if you just want to get the certification from the province versus achieving a Bachelor of Arts degree, there are options for that as well. Now, the other interesting thing about our program is that a lot of the core courses are offered at night. So people who have typically been in the childcare field have often worked part-time while also taking coursework at the university. And so we have been experimenting with offering courses at night and also continuing them on Zoom, which would probably not be the case in education, although we'll see what happens in the future. But in developmental studies, there's a high chance that your courses will be offered in some sort of hybrid model. There is also a practicum requirement in your last year, so you will get to work in an early childhood setting, be it a childcare center. Maybe you would shadow a childcare director, or maybe you're going to work in the government as a childcare policy analyst or as a play therapist. The options you can talk about with the practicum supervisor and find something that fits for you. The other thing that's really cool about developmental studies is that education students in the integrated program can study a developmental studies minor. And so what you're doing here is you're understanding how children's development occurs and is related to curriculum studies, say for the early years of education. So nursery, kindergarten, grades 1 to 3. And in terms of this degree, well, what some people say, well, what can I do with the developmental studies degree? There's future employment opportunities as early childhood educators. And typically when this program started, that's where people were going, was to be a childcare director of some sort. But now the program has expanded and we have graduates who are working in any sort of community type job involving children. So that could be something like a play therapist or a child and family services worker or some people have taught courses at Red River and so forth. So because this field is growing, this is not an area where you're going to see no employment options. There's lots of opportunities for people who want to work with early childcare. Next slide. Okay, so the faculty asked me to talk a little bit as well about some of the opportunities that the faculty offers beyond just being a student. And so first of all, you'll notice that many of our courses in the recent years have been offered online or in person. And we also have an outdoor classroom that was developed by a couple of our faculty members so that we can be studying things like environmental education and sustainability. But what's really interesting about developmental studies is that there's a project called Toy Box. And what we do in Toy Box is we have community members from all over Manitoba who are trying to provide literacy, numeracy, and wellness tips for caregivers. And so we have education and developmental studies students regularly employed as research assistants. So while you are a student learning about education, you're also connecting with these community members from all around the province and learning about how to implement some of the things, the coursework that you're learning about, the ideas that you've had about young children alongside these community members. And so the Toy Box is an example of an extracurricular program that you can get involved with so that your resume isn't just student with a bachelor's of education or bachelor's of arts in developmental studies. There are other opportunities for you to connect with faculty members as well. And I think that after that, I'd like to turn on to one of our students, Megan Nanka, who is also a Toy Box research assistant, and we'll let you hear about her perspective of education.
Thank you so much, Sherry. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our open house. As Sherry mentioned, I'm a student in the Faculty of Education. I'm in my 5th and final year in the integrated program. So I'll be graduating this spring, which is very exciting. And I wanted to share just a little bit about my experience as a student here at U of W. I actually started my journey in the PACE program as an adult learner. I became an educational assistant. And from there, getting to work in the classroom, fell in love with it, and I joined the Faculty of Education. So right off of the hop with the integrated program, one of the things I really appreciated was being able to work with youth within that first year. So especially for my peers who hadn't yet been in a classroom, they found that so invaluable that they could really get a sense of whether this was a career that they wanted to pursue. And another thing that I've really appreciated in this integrated program is the autonomy that I was able to take some education electives earlier on in my coursework. So I've actually freed up a little bit more breathing room, and I've been able to lighten my load for these final 2 certifying years where you're doing your practicum placements and you're really working closely with students and their teachers. So having that autonomy, I have found really, really helpful. And another thing I've so appreciated about my experience here at U of W is that as a student with a physical disability, I have had such amazing support from not only faculty, but also from accessibility services, which is an incredible department we have here on campus. And they will ensure that if you, like myself, might have some physical or a need for physical accommodations, they'll ensure that you have what you need. Or if perhaps you might be in need of some mental health support, they have access to anything and everything that's going to ensure that you can be successful as a student. And if you could please go to the next slide, Megan. Thank you. As Sherry mentioned, there's just been such amazing work opportunities as a student here in the Faculty of Education. So I wanted to highlight, well, first and foremost, Toy Box, which has been amazing. We develop literacy, numeracy, and wellness activities for children of ages 2 to 8 years old. And in that work, I've been able to collaborate with so many educators around the province. And also through working here at the university, I've had an opportunity to moderate a conference with Ubisoft Winnipeg. They had their Nova Summit last year. I was able to help share some perspectives on girls in STEM. And then also, I'm currently the Chief Elections Commissioner at the UWSA, running the student elections for their board of directors. So here on campus, there are some truly amazing opportunities that, in addition to those connections that you make, there's so many skills that I am so grateful to have been able to foster before having my very own classroom. So this, communication skills and collaboration, these are some things that have just been real gifts through my time here at the faculty. So thank you so much for your time.
All right, so it's my turn. So my name is Megan Michalik, and I am the academic advisor for the integrated program from years 1 to 3. And I'm going to talk to you about applying to the Faculty of Education. What do you need to know about that? So, all right, so I'm just going to go over some of the highlights here. So if you're coming directly out of high school, so if you're in grade 12 right now and you want to apply, you're more than welcome, and we encourage you to apply before March 1st. You will need to be graduated from high school with 30 Manitoba high school credits, or hold a mature status diploma and have completed courses required for regular status entry. You have to have completed 5 credits at the grade 12 level, designated AS or G. And this is a really important part to note. You must present standing in either 2 credits of English 40A or S, plus 1 credit of Math 40S. So that could be pre-calculus, applied, or essential. And if you don't have that, that's okay. You can also have 1 credit of English 40A or S and pre-calculus. For students that are interested in going into the elementary stream and working with younger kids, if you're not in grade 12 per se right now, if you're here listening to the presentation and you're like grade 9, 10, 11, I would recommend that you would take at least applied or pre-calculus math if you're interested in the elementary stream, because we do require that students have 6 credit hours of math courses. And so if you're here and you're in grade 12 and you're like, oh no, I don't have the math I need, I won't get in. That's not the case. That's not the case at all. You do have to have the entrance requirements to apply, but let's say you don't have the right math coming in. We have courses you can take as prerequisites, and that's where I meet you in orientation, and we'll talk about that and we'll go into details. So please do not panic if you're here in the presentation and you think you're not going to qualify. That's not necessarily the case. So I just want to put that out there just so everyone is aware. Entrance average for students is calculated using the students' best 3 40S courses from a list of approved grade 12 courses, including at least 1 of English, applied math, or pre-calculus. And you can find more information about this on our website in terms of approved courses. So please go and visit our education website. And you can also talk to our admissions department. You can email admissions@uwinnipeg.ca if you have any questions about applying at all. And they're lovely people there that can help answer questions for you. There are students here that don't necessarily coming directly out of high school. So we have this great opportunity that you can transfer in. These are students that have taken some post-secondary credits before. So we say less than 42 credit hours. And you can still apply into our program and come into the transfer program, and you do the regular application and it'll take you right to the page where you can apply to transfer in. So no worries, the application is quite straightforward. So the admission is based on academic performance, relevant volunteer or work experience, and the number of available spaces in the program. And to be eligible, You have to have relevant experience with age-appropriate groups. You should have a minimum of cumulative grade point average, so GPA of 2.5 to be competitive. And applicants can't be on what we call academic probation from another post-secondary institution, or they cannot be on conditional status. We have a wonderful information booklet on our website that goes through every step of the way to transfer. And of course, there are contacts such as myself that you can come and ask questions to. I am going to hand it over to Madison from Red River College Polytech to talk about our joint program between the University of Winnipeg and Red River.
Hi, thanks, Megan. We appreciate you having us here to be a part of the Faculty of Education Open House tonight. Good afternoon, everyone. So just like Megan said, my name is Madison. I am the academic coordinator for the teacher education program at Red River College Polytech. And so if you're wondering why someone from Red River is presenting at the U of W Open House, it's because we work alongside the Faculty of Education to offer a joint program where you can earn a teacher education diploma through Red River College in addition to the Bachelor of Education degree that you would earn through the University of Winnipeg. So if you could just go to the first slide, Megan. Thank you. So the teacher education program at Red River College Polytech provides you with 3 options for teachable majors that are not offered by the University of Winnipeg. So through the joint program, you would have the choice to major in either business technology education, industrial arts technology education, or technical vocational education. And so for the business and industrial arts program, you have 3 options for completing the diploma and degree programs. So the first is a 5-year integrated degree option in which you would work towards obtaining your Bachelor of Arts or Science degree, your Bachelor of Education, as well as the teacher education diploma all at the same time. Throughout the 5 years in this program, you would alternate days between the University of Winnipeg and the Red River College Notre Dame campus. The next option is the 3-year after degree program. And so this is designed for students who already have their arts or science degree. So therefore, the focus of this program would be for students to obtain their Bachelor of Education degree and then their teacher education diploma as well. For this option, you would spend your first 2 years of study at Red River College, same thing at the Notre Dame campus, and then your 3rd year would be completed at the University of Winnipeg. And then the final option for the business and industrial arts programs is the accelerated diploma. And so this is a 10-month program, and it's designed for students who already have their Bachelor of Education, but want to maybe specialize in teaching either business technology or industrial arts. And the entire 10 months of the program would be completed at Red River College exclusively. So in addition to the business and industrial arts program, we do offer a technical vocational program as well. And so the full-time diploma program is 10 months long, but it is offered in a part-time format as well if you wanted to take that by doing evening courses. So for each program and each stream, there is a practicum component that must be completed in addition to your coursework, just like there is with the University of Winnipeg programs. However, during your time at Red River College, the practicum would be spent teaching either the business or industrial arts courses. So in the integrated program, you would do your 1st through 4th year practicum with Red River College, and each year you would spend between 20 and 30 days doing your practicum in the spring. And then your 5th year practicum would be done with the University of Winnipeg. With the after degree program, you would do year 1 and 2 practicum with Red River College, and those would be between 40 and 50 days in length. And then the 3rd year with the University of Winnipeg. And so if you could go to the next slide there, perfect. So becoming a business or industrial arts teacher would mean that you would be delivering elective courses, and they're mostly offered in high schools. However, some industrial arts courses are offered in middle schools as well. So for those of you who are not familiar with the business or industrial arts programs, I'll just quickly go through an overview of what some of the topics are that you would study in both of those areas. So for business and technology education, You would explore topics like accounting, economics, personal finance, entrepreneurship, marketing and promotions, management, digital commerce and digital media, data analytics and coding. And then the next slide has some of our industrial arts topics. So those topics would include things like construction, woodworking, manufacturing and metalworking, power and energy, electronics, coding, robotics, graphics, drafting, pre-engineering and computer applications. And it's okay if you apply to these programs and don't know anything about any of these topics yet. That's what the program is designed for. It's to teach you how to do woodworking and teach woodworking. So it's kind of a combination there. And then the technical vocational education program is for students who are working in a trade but maybe want to switch career paths and teach their trade to high school students instead. So there are over 30 trade areas that are recognized. So for example, if you are a Red Seal welder or a Red Seal hairstylist, you can complete this program to become a welding or hairstyling teacher in vocational high schools. And then I kind of explained the full and part-time piece of it already. So the last thing I'm going to touch on quickly here is our admission process. So that's our last slide here. So for the business and industrial arts programs, we accept 16 students into each program per year. So that is a total of 16 students between the integrated and after degree program. And so for those two programs, you would apply directly to the University of Winnipeg, and you would have to meet the University of Winnipeg's entrance requirements. So those requirements are listed on the UW's website, and the application due date for those two programs is March 1st. For the technical vocational program, you would apply directly to Red River College. So you would have to meet Red River College's admission requirements, and you can find those on the Red River website as well, which I'll actually post in the chat. If any of you wanted to get a little bit more information about any of those programs, you can take a look at our website. And the application deadline for the full-time program is June 1st, but for the part-time program, there's a continuous intake throughout the year. And so that's it for me. Thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, I will be here for the question and answer period coming up. And I'll put my email in the chat along with the website. If you wanted to send me any questions through that as well, you can. Thank you.
Great. We do have some questions, so I'll go through those. Walla has asked, I am a Canadian permanent resident. I have studied high school and college from Pakistan. I would like to know the process of admission for people like me.
Yeah, I'll take that one. Because you're a permanent resident, you're more than welcome to apply to our program. It's the same admissions process as it would be for any domestic student. And you would want to, I'll put my email actually in the chat as well. If you want to reach out to me, I can direct you to our last information session and our information booklet that you can follow. It goes through everything you need to know to apply.
Awesome. Okay, another question. Can you do your practicum each year at the same school? Also, can we choose our school or do assign for each year of the practicum?
Oh, okay, so I'm not an expert in the practicum. Monica in the practicum office is the one who we refer students to. I don't have a really good answer for you at the moment, but Megan seems to be able to answer some of this, which is wonderful. So I'll allow her to add in what she has to say.
Thanks so much, Megan. It's a great question. So in my experience, there's been just a form that you fill out that you indicate whether you have access to a vehicle or if you're using public transportation. And from there, you're going to be assigned to something that's easily accessible to your own home. But as for choosing a specific school, that wasn't something that I was able to do until my very final year. There was an email sent out to students asking if anybody was curious about alternative learning programs such as the Maples Met Schools. And so I was able to make a request in that sense for my final year to see a different type of learning, which I really appreciated.
Great.
I can also jump in and say that as far as I can understand from a faculty member, there are times where people do get a school that they maybe wanted to get, but also it's certainly not guaranteed in any way, because the idea is that if, say, for example, you want to go to your own elementary school for, you know, it's close to home and whatnot, we want to also encourage you to branch out and develop expertise that maybe would happen at another school. So it's certainly, there's a lot of placements to be juggling. And so although it might happen, it certainly isn't guaranteed.
Great. Okay, Natasha has asked, hi, I've applied for the after degree program, but have a few follow-up questions. What can students expect their schedule to look like during their academic term and their practicum terms? And do students change schools/teachers between the 4 periods of practicum?
So I will let you know that once you're accepted, you're going to be invited to an orientation, which definitely answers all of these questions. And so Amanda Burgoyne is our after degree academic advisor, and she will be reaching out to everyone to invite them to an orientation once they receive their acceptance letter.
Awesome. Any other additions? I don't want to cut off anyone. No? Okay. I'm unsure if I want to teach elementary or junior high. What would your recommendation be for choosing my courses?
Yeah, so when you apply, you have to choose one or the other, but that's okay. We're not making you choose forever on the application. So whatever you're interested in at the moment, just choose the elementary or the senior stream. And then we're going to go into more detail as we go through orientation and I meet with students on a yearly basis. So you will better understand what you want to do in the future, and then then you can change your stream. We try to get people locked down to at about after second year to actually finalize which stream they're in. Sherry?
I just want to say too that once you receive your bachelor's of education, the actual degree, it is a degree that allows you to teach from K to 12. So although it would be ideal that you would choose a particular pathway, you might find that life changes your direction. And Megan, actually, the student here on the call is a case in point. I believe she's in the senior years stream. She's working for Toy Box. She's one of our #1 RAs for Toy Box. She has an amazing amount of experience in early years because of Toy Box. And now actually she hasn't even graduated and she has been offered a job already. So you never say never about what to do. Choose your best option, considering the courses that you already have on your slate and, you know, kind of your background and whatever, and then go from there. And it might turn out that you're teaching what life throws at you.
Agreed. Okay. How many students apply to the after degree program each year?
That varies every year. There is less spots though. I can't give you an exact number as our admissions department would have that number, but it's a lot more competitive. There's less spaces. So yeah, I could get that number for you, but I don't have it right now. So I apologize.
It's okay. Okay, someone has asked, I've completed the EA course in Manitoba, then worked in a classroom as an EA. What program can I do into becoming a teacher?
Yeah, so what I would say, I'm going to put my email up right now, and I would say email me and we can have a discussion about what's the best fit, and then I will give you some information on where to apply.
Perfect. How difficult is it to use your teaching degree outside of the province?
Ooh. I'm going to give that to one of the faculty members or deans.
I can jump in there and say that every province has different regulations for teacher certification. So even though you get your Bachelor's of Education from, say, the University of Winnipeg, if you go out of province, our program aligns with the provincial certification here, but it doesn't necessarily line up with Ontario's certification. And in fact, my husband, who is a teacher, when he moved from Ontario, he actually had to take a few extra courses because Manitoba is very heavy on having a lot of breadth requirements. So I would suggest that you check, if you're thinking of doing the degree here and transferring, do your research ahead of time so that you can line up your courses specifically. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll jump in here as well, Sherry. You are right that when you do get your degree, you have a certificate that it pertains to Manitoba. And our understanding from meetings this year is that there is an interprovincial agreement that does exist so that there is greater transferability than there used to be, but there is still a distinction between where you achieved your certificate, because by the Canadian Constitution, which we all live under, education is a provincial responsibility, and that's where that comes from. So we don't make those rules. The government follows those rules as a result of our Constitution, 1982.
Great. So there's a few questions that are related to the integrated program coming directly from high school. So one student has asked, is applying, oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. What is the acceptance rate into the integrated program? And then another student has asked, I am in grade 12 and doing English 40S and pre-cal 40S, does this meet the requirement to enter? So I've put both of them up there, but I also just want to quickly mention to those students that right now I'm putting the view book into the chat, and all the information is on the website, and you have such great panelists here to give you the information. But in my personal opinion, sometimes it's really clear on page 18 and 19 of the view book. That's where you can see the English and math chart, and it's clear as day. So I'll put that in there for you to review after the fact, but of course we'll have someone to answer now.
Yeah, so we don't have rates of and specific numbers that way, but I will tell you that there is more space in the integrated program direct from high school. There's over 200 spaces. So I would say if you're interested in the integrated program direct from high school, please put your application in. Hopefully you do meet the admissions requirements, so please go over that. But yeah, I encourage you to apply.
One addition there as well, the early deadline is March 1st, correct? Yeah, so
yes,
students
that is
who are
correct.
thinking of this should get that application in sooner than later. Even if you're unsure if you're going to meet, it just makes sense to get the application in and then have it assessed. And if you haven't met the entrance requirements for the Faculty of Education directly from high school, then you will be offered admission to the Faculty of Arts or Sciences if you met those general requirements anyway. So it just makes sense to try.
Yes.
As well, you're not required to choose your classes or any of that complicated stuff on the application. It's easier than it sounds. So I'm here to just sort of debunk some of those fears there. That's the only thing I would add.
I'll add on to that if you don't qualify, for some reason, if you don't qualify right out of high school, but you get admission to the University of Winnipeg and the Faculty of Arts, let's say, this is actually why we have the transfer program, because you can do a year of university first, and then you can come and transfer into our program the following year. And then that's where you can come and ask me questions, because that's my area. So yeah, don't worry about if you don't get a space right out of high school, there's still lots of opportunity to come into the Faculty of Education later on.
Yeah, and the classes that you would take in that first year will still be eligible toward, it's not a total waste at all. Yeah. So really, you wouldn't be so far behind in that sense.
Yeah.
Okay, is applying as a mature student more difficult / do you have different requirements for mature students?
You have to meet the entrance requirements for a mature student for the university, but I wouldn't say more difficult in terms of applying to the Faculty of Education. No, you still have to go through the same process as everyone else.
Okay, if I get admitted, but my plans change, can I defer my acceptance? If
Not to
not,
the-
would it affect a future application?
Sorry, I cut you off there. Sorry.
That's okay.
So you cannot, if you get an acceptance into the Faculty of Education specifically, you cannot defer. You would still be able to take courses at the University of Winnipeg, and to still be accepted at the University of Winnipeg, but you can't defer your acceptance into the faculty. And sorry, what was the second part? Did I answer that?
Oh, I went out of order. If I get admitted, but my plans change, can I defer my acceptance? If not, would it affect my future application?
I would say apply if you couldn't come the first time and you couldn't, because we don't allow you to defer. I would still say if you decide to come back, apply again. And I don't know that it would really make a huge difference at the time. I would say go for it. Don't stop yourself from applying again.
I think the goal is to create options for yourself. Like if you want to do education, if it's in the possibilities of what you want to do next year, apply. Your plans might change. That life happens to all of us. And you might decide to apply 10 years from now into education. It doesn't matter. If you are passionate about education and you're working with children and you're building those volunteer and work experiences, that all factors into the equation. So we're looking for motivated people who want to make a difference with our young children in Manitoba.
Yeah, I would echo that. You have experts who are working in the Faculty of Education here with you, but in my role, I meet with students who are in the beginning stages of thinking about if they're going to apply to the university. And I meet with students who are thinking about it and they get accepted, and partway through they have a baby, and then they had to take a term off, and all of, life happens. Life really happens. They come back and tell me some outlandish stories, and they're determined, and they have really supportive faculty, and they make it happen, and they're full-time employed now. So I would just really echo that and say, just do what you can, and do it when you're ready, and it never hurts to apply.
And I will add, sorry, Sherry, I'll add, just if you are accepted, just come talk to me. Like I'll give you options on what to do next. We're not requiring you to be in all 5 courses, which is our max for each term. You only need to be in one for between fall and winter. So, and then if you have a really good reason, we assess each individual case. So just come and speak to me if you get accepted, and we'll see what we can do.
Mm-hmm. And the piece that I was going to add was that, I look at all the different degrees that are around there. And people might say, oh, bachelor's of education, what do you want to be a teacher for? But actually, this is one of the only degrees at the bachelor's level where there are tons and tons of jobs available. And with COVID, I think that's just going to increase that, that now that we've been through that. And once you, as Leslie mentioned, once you get through the education degree, there are lots of ladders and opportunities. Even if education isn't your main focus, you might get into education and then move into administration or counseling or school psychology. There are lots of options with this degree. So it's 5 years, but it's only 5 years. And then you get, a well-paying job.
Yeah. More to add? Just agree. Okay. So which bachelor should I take if I want to teach math?
Well, we have a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science in mathematics. And so if that's what you want to teach, that's what I would suggest that you major in. But yeah, you have any questions about your major, this is this is what I talk about with students on a daily basis, and we'll talk through what your options are once you're accepted.
Someone's asking, do I need Ielts for admission in the Faculty of Education in case if our high school and college degree is from outside of Canada. So this is the same permanent resident person.
Yeah,
who
so
has-
this person, depending, we do allow permanent residents and Canadian citizens into our regular program. We don't have international students in our regular integrated program, although we do have an access program that if you're an international student who already has a degree, you can get a teacher certification. What I would say is come and reach out to education@uwinnipeg.ca and we'll direct you to the right advisor. Well, his name is Praveen and he's amazing. So he can answer those questions better than I can tonight, but education@uwinnipeg.ca, and I'll put that in the chat as well.
Mm-hmm. But Walla, it sounds like in order to meet our general entrance requirements or just to get accepted to the university in total, if you didn't meet one of the English waiver options, you would need to meet the English language requirement, which can be done via Ielts or any of the other accepted tests. We've just extended Duolingo or accepted Duolingo, so that would be one of them, which will be more accessible to you, hopefully, if you need it. Okay, next question. I was wondering when admission offers come out for the after degree program.
I'm not involved in the after degree program, and I don't actually know the date of that, so I do apologize. If you want to know though, you can email admissions@uwinnipeg.ca and they'd be happy to answer that for you.
Yeah, that's the best place. Okay, someone's asked, I've been accepted into the university. How do I transfer into the education program?
Okay, well, you can reach out to me and I can give you the link to our transferring into our integrated program. I actually have an information session on March 16th coming up, and I speak about it a lot more and in more detail. And there's also a transfer information booklet online you can also read, but feel free to reach out to me and I can get you all that information.
Mm-hmm. For any students who are already in university and are thinking of transferring into the integrated program or will need more information about the after degree program, the information booklets are a wonderful resource. They are on the website, and it really is kind of like the holy grail of all the information in addition to the advisors here. But if you were a student, the last question that we were just answering, if you were just an accepted student from high school into our university, you applied for a different program, but now you want to get into the integrated program, you'll have to email the admissions office, admissions@uwinnipeg.ca, and they'll switch your application over for you. Okay. Someone's asked, I'm wondering about the workload. Is it manageable to keep a part-time job while focusing on my schooling?
Yes, I have a really good answer for that, actually. So I used to work before I was in the Faculty of Education. I used to be a student success advisor. I'd like to talk to a lot of students about this. I think 20 hours of work a week is about the maximum I would tell students, depending on how many courses you're taking. But you just have to reach a balance between work and your course load. I think Megan could probably add to this because she's got lots going on while trying to go to school, right? So, and I talked to a lot of students about this. If you're going to work, maybe you don't take as many courses in one semester. Like you can take a maximum of 5. Some people take 3 or 4. But Megan, do you have any advice for that student?
Yeah, I really agree with everything you said, Megan. Like I myself personally, I wanted to jump in earlier, but I didn't want to say too much or take up too much time because just to dovetail off of what Nadia had been sharing, like I myself have taken 8 years to go through the integrated program. So although it is a 5-year program, life happened and I had to slow down at times. And then there's been other periods where I was privileged to not have to work and I was able to focus more on taking additional classes. So there's a lot of freedom to really like design your learning in whatever way works best for you. But I would absolutely agree that, yeah, like 20 hours is a good balance if you're taking like 3 to 4 courses, but with a 5 course load, I wouldn't recommend working too much.
I want to jump in as well, also as a faculty member, and say that, we are also running a professional program here too. So even though we want to sound accommodating and inclusive of students, and we know that you have to eat, the other side of it though is that you do need to come to class. And this is not a program where you're going to be planning to miss a lot of classes, because it's a professional certification, and attendance is very important. And so the faculty get very upset, and they know your names, and they know where you live, so that you don't want to be missing classes because you have to work. Do a different program, or plan out your life so that you can work in the summers and work. Maybe you take a year off and work before you come to the education program. As well, I should also mention here that it's not unusual to have very long days. I think Megan could answer to this, because this term, even though she's online during COVID, it hasn't been unknown for people to start at 8:30 in the morning and go till 6:30 at night. And then you might have a day off to do homework, but you've got very long days.
Yes. Okay. If someone has already received a letter of acceptance, what would they need to send in after the acceptance?
Okay, so I'm so happy you asked this question, actually. So there is a $125 deposit that you have to pay. And this secures your spot in education. If you don't pay it, then you're not going to receive, unfortunately, not going to receive a registration date. So then if you receive that late, then it's a domino effect in terms of getting into the classes that you need. So in the letter, it gives you instructions on how to pay that deposit, and that deposit actually just gets applied to the winter term in your first year. So, which is really awesome. So please, if you've already got your acceptance letter, please go ahead and pay the deposit. And if you're having any trouble with that, please feel free to reach out to me or studentcentral@uwinnipeg.ca, and they can help you with your deposit.
Perfect. There was an answer that I just answered manually, but I included a link to the program guide. So if there's any current high school students interested in the integrated education program and are curious about majors and minors, I've put that link in there. It's on page 10 of the program guide. I'll also put it in the chat. And that's another place where the program guide goes hand in hand with the view book. All the information is there, but it's a really easy place where you can just see all the majors and minors that you can choose from. And if you want to be an elementary teacher, there's certain ones, obviously, maybe you wouldn't have physics or something like that to be teaching to first year students or grade 1 students, but there's some stipulations there, but you can see the list of options for yourselves.
I want to jump in on that one as well to just add that it's very important for those grade 11 and under students who can still change their high school stuff, that you're definitely going to want to make sure you have the higher level math courses. A lot of the school counselors don't know this, and this has changed in, say, the last 5 or so years, where that essentials math course doesn't count. So you want to take either the applied or the other advanced
Pre-calculus.
Calculus, yeah.
Yeah, you can use that. So just to be clear, you can use the essentials math as part of your qualifications to apply. But what Sherry's referring to, which I love that she's mentioning this, is that, again, I talked about you need 6 credit hours of math courses if you're in the elementary stream. So if you can already jump into applied or pre-calculus in grade 10 or 11, that would be really awesome. But if that's not the case, we can still help you out once you get here.
Yeah. Okay, Marissa is asking, I've already been accepted into the Faculty of Arts. Is there any benefit for me trying to get into education now? Yes.
I would say yes. Yeah.
Big
Now, do
benefit.
you want to answer that? I'd say I would, like Nadia suggested before, you can contact admissions, and if you want to actually have your application switched over to the integrated, I would go ahead and come into the faculty, because you can always change your mind later. If you do decide you don't want to be in the faculty, you can go back to the arts and all your credits still apply. But yeah, I would definitely say come to the Faculty of Education first, if that's what you think you want to do.
Yeah.
And also, oh, can I add something too?
Yeah,
That I'm
absolutely.
sorry, I keep jumping in. Maybe this
No.
is bad, but
No, it's great.
no,
It's
it's
great.
the other thing I wanted to mention too is that the Faculty of Education courses are pretty much only for Faculty of Education students, where it doesn't work the other way around. If you want to learn about all these neat curriculum courses and sustainability and inclusion and whatnot, you have to get into the Faculty of Education. Whereas if you want to learn about biology or psychology or all these other things, you can take those courses as well. So, you know, there's a privilege to being in the Faculty of Ed. And that's just because we don't want anybody just taking the odd curriculum course and then calling themselves a teacher. It's a professional degree. So we have to carefully make sure who's in these courses.
Absolutely. And the main discrepancy I would make is if you are in high school, you have the benefit of getting accepted from the high school requirements, which if you meet them, then you know already you've met them. Whereas if you're applying to transfer into the education program after the fact, you will be getting in based off of your university GPA versus your high school grades. Sometimes that can be more challenging. Also, you'll have to provide an autobiography, letters of recommendation. It's a whole thorough application process. So if you can get in based off of your high school grades that you've already met the requirements for, that will be the easier option for you. And then you know you've been accepted into the program. And if you like it, that's great. If you don't, it's easy to leave, but at least you're in what you want to be in from the beginning.
And there's, I was going to say, there's a lot more space direct from high school versus it gets a lot more competitive as you transfer in and as you go to the after degree program. So yeah, there's 200 versus, 50 spaces. So definitely apply right from high school if you have the opportunity and you're excited to be a teacher.
Yeah. Okay, so we do have a few more. I know we're short on time, so we'll try and get through them quickly. What is the expected turnaround time for us to know when we get accepted? I have submitted my application about 4 weeks ago, but still haven't gotten an update. That does depend on the program you've.
Yeah, it really depends on how many applications they're getting right now, and the process time. It's all done in our admissions department, and they're very fast. But there's lots. This is a popular time of year to apply, so I would say
again,
just be patient and
or email them and see where they're at.
Yeah,
I would be an advocate for myself in case bureaucracy happens and it is a pandemic. So maybe if you haven't heard, you could shoot off an email to admissions.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we do have just one last question that I'll get to. How did you all know you wanted to be in education?
Well, I am not in education, but I will say I am connected to education. I am from kinesiology, actually. That's where my degree is from, and became an academic advisor from there. But I actually, when I first came to university, I actually wanted to be a teacher. And then I decided to go a different direction as I was a dancer. So, but got full circle and I'm back in education now. So, and, may pursue something more in the future. So that's my story.
That's great. We are right at the end of our time. So I apologize for the questions that were still in the Q&A there. If anyone is in high school, I really recommend that you just go through the viewbook link and the program guide link that I added to the chat. Also get directly in touch with the resources that we've mentioned here. And the same goes for the after degree integrated programs, transfer programs as well. You can get directly in touch with us. So hopefully you've gotten a lot of information here. I know I've been cleared up on a lot of things. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and stay tuned for some of our other presentations that will be happening either later this evening or tomorrow evening as well. Thank you.